In November 2011, a BBC camera crew lowered a specialized lens beneath the thick Antarctic sea ice. What they filmed in the next 4 minutes shocked marine biologists worldwide. A tube of ice was growing downward, moving slowly and silently. Everything it touched died instantly. Scientists called it the finger of death. Subscribe for more deep ocean mysteries grounded in real science and history. This phenomenon moves at a steady pace of 2 centimeters per minute. It doesn't hunt with intent or think like a predator, but everything on the ocean floor in its path is dead within seconds. Creatures are frozen solid and locked in place, unable to escape the advancing icy touch. It is happening right now, somewhere beneath the dark waves, in water cold enough to kill a human instantly. This silent killer operates in the most remote regions of our planet, where the pressure is immense and the environment is hostile to almost every form of life we know. Scientists first discovered evidence of this phenomenon in 1960, but had no logical explanation for it. They filed their notes away for 50 years, as the idea seemed physically impossible. It remained a myth until a modern camera crew finally captured the terrifying process on high-definition film. The footage was so disturbing and ethereal that researchers began asking a chilling question. They wondered if this process was a rare Earth event or something more universal. What if this phenomenon isn't actually unique to our Earth, but a common occurrence in the dark reaches of our solar system? The Arctic ocean surface stays frozen solid for most of the year, acting as a massive white shield. Beneath that ice exists a hidden world that most humans will never see. It is a place defined by intense pressure, total darkness, and temperatures that drop to dangerously low levels. In this abyss, temperatures can drop to -2 degrees Celsius. This is the absolute lowest temperature liquid seawater can reach before it finally freezes solid. The salt in the water acts as an antifreeze, keeping the ocean liquid even when it is technically below the freezing point of fresh water. Life exists here despite the brutality, but it is incredibly slow and deliberate. Sea urchins and starfish crawl across the silty seafloor at a fraction of a millimeter per second. In this deep freeze environment, every movement requires an immense amount of energy and time for these small, ancient creatures. The rules of survival in this dark realm are very simple. Do not freeze and do not stop moving. Movement generates the tiny amount of heat and circulation necessary to keep life going. The moment a creature stops, the creeping cold finally finds a way to take a permanent hold. In 1960, a Soviet oceanographer named Serafim Zubov noticed something in his data that broke these fundamental rules. Temperature readings showed localized zones of extreme cold moving downward at a consistent rate. It was as if the cold was sinking through the water like a heavy, invisible stone. His colleagues quickly dismissed the anomaly as a sensor error or a fluke in the data. The prevailing scientific models of the time had no mechanism to explain how downward cold migration could possibly occur. They believed the ocean was too well mixed for such a focused event to happen. Zubov was eventually proven right by history, but he did not live to see the visual proof. It would take another 50 years of technological advancement in underwater optics to finally capture the event. We now understand the terrifying truth of what his data was actually trying to tell him. We now know that beneath the serene white ice, a silent predator is constantly reaching down. It is a physical manifestation of the cold, descending to claim the life forms that call the dark seafloor their home. It is a bridge between the frozen surface and the vulnerable bottom. The physical mechanism was finally identified in the 1970s and is known as brine rejection. When seawater freezes into ice, the salt cannot be part of the crystal structure. The salt is excluded from the ice and pushed downward into the liquid water remaining directly below the ice sheet. This process creates a channel of supersaline water, which we call brine. This brine is significantly saltier, colder, and denser than the surrounding ocean water. Because it is so much heavier, it begins to sink rapidly toward the seafloor in a very narrow, concentrated stream or plume. Under precise conditions of temperature and salinity, this sinking brine doesn't just disperse into the ocean. Instead, it descends in a focused vertical column. As this super-cold brine moves through the slightly warmer seawater, it causes the surrounding water to freeze instantly upon contact with the brine stream. This creates a hollow tube of ice, a brinicle, or brine icicle. Growing centimeter by centimeter, this frozen conduit reaches down from the underside of the ice shelf. It acts like a pipeline, carrying the lethal, supercooled brine directly toward the unsuspecting life forms living on the seafloor miles below. Until November 2011, no human had ever seen one of these structures form in real time. The BBC Natural History Unit captured the first complete time-lapse near Ross Island in Antarctica. It was a feat of engineering, requiring cameras to withstand the crushing pressure and the soul-chilling cold. The production team watched in stunned silence as the icy tube reached the seafloor. Once it touched the ground, the cold didn't stop. It began spreading outward across the silt. They watched as it froze every sea urchin and starfish in its path, turning the seabed into a graveyard. The brine flowing inside a brinicle is a chemical nightmare for biological life. It can reach temperatures as low as -20°C. This creates a massive temperature differential of 18 degrees compared to the warmer surrounding water, making it a concentrated blast of absolute freezing energy. When the brinicle finally breaches the seafloor, the brine acts like a heavy liquid. It flows like a river of death, following the natural contours and terrain of the ocean floor. It pools in valleys and spreads across plains, entombing everything it touches in a matter of seconds. A starfish caught in this sub-zero flow simply cannot struggle or flee. Its body temperature drops much faster than its primitive nervous system can even register a threat. Before the animal can move a single limb, it is already being encased in a layer of jagged, crystalline ice. The creature freezes from the outside inward, which is a devastating way to die. The ice locks its muscles and its delicate tube feet, which it uses for movement and breathing. In less than 90 seconds, an animal that has survived for eons is turned into a solid block. This process is particularly effective because the brine is so much denser than the water in the creature's bodies. It draws the heat out of the biological tissue with terrifying efficiency. It is a heat exchange so violent that life simply has no evolutionary defense against its sudden arrival. In 2019, an ROV survey off the coast of Iceland filmed an active brinicle where it shouldn't exist. According to every textbook, the water there was far too warm for one to form. Furthermore, the stable ice ceiling that usually anchors these structures was completely absent from the site. Researchers from the University of Bergen reviewed the footage and were forced to admit a hard truth. They stated that the formation is completely inconsistent with all current scientific models. The mechanism for its existence in such warm water remains a total mystery to the scientific community today. This discovery suggests that we only understand a small fraction of how these ice fingers work. If they can form without a solid ice sheet and in warmer currents, they might be much more common than we ever imagined. The finger of death might be lurking in every ocean. NASA scientists have now turned their eyes away from Earth and toward Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. Europa is a fascinating target because it is covered in a massive global crust of ice. Beneath that ice lies a vast liquid subsurface ocean that has existed for billions of years. Europa has a frozen crust and a subsurface ocean with the perfect salt concentration for brinicle formation. In fact, the gravitational pull of Jupiter creates tidal heating that could drive even more intense brine rejection. The conditions for these fingers of death on Europa are statistically very high. If they form there, these rivers of death are flowing right now in an ocean 628 million kilometers away. They would be moving through water that has never seen a single ray of sunlight. It is a haunting thought. A silent, frozen executioner operating in a world we've never touched. Scientists largely agree on the basic chemistry and the lethal kill rate of brinicles. However, they are deeply divided on what these structures represent in the larger ecosystem. Are they just a rare weather event, or do they play a vital role in cleaning the ocean floor? While most see them as a natural polar curiosity, a minority of researchers are asking a more difficult question. They are focused on the growth rates. Why do brinicles grow at such drastically different and unpredictable speeds, even when the environmental conditions appear to be exactly the same? Some brinicles take days to reach the floor, while others seem to race downward in a matter of hours. This inconsistency suggests there is an unknown variable at play. Something is either insulating the tube or pumping the brine faster than our current physics can explain or predict. In 2023, a paper from the Alfred Wegener Institute proposed a controversial new theory. They suggested that microturbulence in the surrounding water might be the hidden engine. This turbulence could be accelerating the flow of brine inside the tube, much like a bellows fuels a hot fire. The most disturbing part of this theory is the source of that turbulence. It could be caused by the very animals trying to flee the area. As hundreds of sea urchins scramble to escape, their collective movement creates tiny ripples in the water that may stabilize the brinicle's growth. If this theory is true, it creates a dark, biological feedback loop. The movement of the victims inadvertently speeds up the icy finger that is coming to kill them. Their struggle for life becomes the very catalyst for their sudden and icy death in the deep. The data remains insufficient to prove this theory because our technology has reached its limit. The instruments required to measure microturbulence at such extreme depths and temperatures do not yet exist. We are currently staring into the abyss with only half of the story in our hands. This leaves the finger of death as one of the great open mysteries of the modern world. We are watching a phenomenon that behaves beyond our current predictive models. It occurs in the deepest, darkest reaches of our oceans, far beyond the reach of our daily lives. From Seraphim Zubov's ignored data in 1960 to the haunting footage of 2011, the story continues to evolve. It is a reminder that the deep remains untamed and full of terrors. Nature still holds secrets that can freeze our blood and challenge everything we think we know. Imagine the same process happening tonight on a distant moon, in total silence and absolute darkness. The finger of death doesn't care about our theories or our cameras. It doesn't care if something is in its way. It simply grows, it freezes, and it claims the void.